This engine is a Washington-Estep diesel, and it was built by Washington Iron Works in 1928. This engine is the only remaining 3-cylinder Washington-Estep that's still operating and in a boat.
When he found this boat, he completely fell in love with the engine, and it's right up his alley.
Whenever we show up at a dock, the old-timers come out of the woodwork. We get tons of people coming down to the boat, asking us questions. Lots of them have worked on boats with engines like this. Lots of them have worked on logging equipment or construction equipment that had old engines like this. We're ready to start here. All the compression releases are closed, the bar is out, fuel and the oil and the air are on. It's really fun to see people who know something about the engine or have worked on engines like that but haven't seen anything like it in 30 or 40 years, and when they see it again they're reminded of all the fun stories that they had from the past, all the fun adventures they'd had on boats that had them and working on engines like that. It's pretty fun to show the old guys the engine. The actual measurements of it are that it produces 100 horsepower at 325 RPMs, and it also has 10-inch pistons and a 12-inch stroke.
And over here you hear this thump 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 here, and over there you hear a tickety tickety tickety, and yeah, he knows them all, and he can tell when something's not sounding quite right, or there's a pump running, or yeah, there are all sorts of things.
I really like that this engine was built at a time where the engineers really knew a lot about building steam engines. All the moving parts are on the outside, making it really simple to work on. It's something that they later figured out needed to be on the inside so that it didn't make a big of a mess.
Yeah, the engine is so comforting and soothing, and it just puts me to sleep. It's like being in a womb. You hear a little bit of it, and and then the gentle rocking of the boat.
When people first come down here, they're amazed. It's huge. They're not expecting something like this. I think they're expecting something a lot smaller, and when they stand next to it and it's as tall as they are, that's a little overwhelming. The most asked question that we get about the engine is, where do you get parts? That's what people always want to know, because it's old and it does seem like it's amazing to have to replace anything, especially when you can't just go to the auto parts place. The answer is that you go to a machine shop with your broken part or with your worn out part, and they make you a new one. At some point I'd really like to make a little model to show how the reverse gear works, because we get an awful lot of questions about that, and I explain it, but I don't think people can really picture what's actually going on inside there. Part of the reason that the engine is still around is that every year on the 4th of July, when the boat was up on the beach, the old timers would come down and light it off just for fun, and I'm sure that that's what kept it from turning into a big solid block of rusty steel. And it's working as well as it did when it came off the factory floor in 1928. And then the people who've had it since have taken good care of it and been interested in keeping it as an antique for its inherent value as as a showpiece instead of ripping it out of the boat and putting in a more modern engine. Crew members on other boats have asked if we were thinking about getting rid of it, if we were thinking about replacing it with a different engine. Which of course the answer is no, because it's very cool and it's definitely a historical part of the boat.